Getting stalked led my family into thinking that I'm schizophrenic. My name is Destiny, and this is the Highcast. What's poppin'? This is season 3 of the Highcast, episode 1. A long time no see. I missed you guys so much. Thank you so much for coming back to the Highcast. We're doing things a little bit different in season 3. Okay, so be prepared. But I'm so excited to catch up with you guys. I'm so excited to be here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little shy, okay? I'm a little rusty, so work with me. But before we really dive into today's episode, I wanna put something out there that is heavy on my heart, and that is the meaning behind this podcast. You know, of course, I created it and all my social medias with the intention of being super lit at all times. I honestly feel like I made getting lit my entire personality. And a lot of you guys know now, because I feel like a while back, I actually changed majority, if not all of my social media, except for like one of my YouTube channels. I changed it. It used to, my Instagram, my TikTok, everything was Life Being Dest. That was my @name. And I changed it to Des Tirado. My full name is Destiny Tirado. Some of those names were taken on Instagram, so I was like, all right, Des for short, Des Tirado. And it was because deep down, I was like, you know what? I realized that I made getting lit my entire personality. You know, a lot of my supporters started following me because I'm a girl who gets lit all day, which, yeah, that was something I did, but I'm so much more than that. I'm so much more than just a stony baloney. So that's what really not convinced me, that's what pushed me to want to change my usernames, because I was low-key getting tired of people hopping on my live streams or whatever it was, up in my comments saying, where's the blinkers? Get lit. Like that's all my requests were. And you know, I can't blame nobody but myself, because that's what I built my social media platforms off of. But I'm so much more than, like I said, just a stony. So the Highcast, okay? The meaning behind the Highcast, like I said, it was because I was high all the time. But some of you guys may know, some of you guys may not, but I'm definitely changing. Now my new #1 comment is, wow, Des, you've changed so much. I don't know if those comments are talking about a positive change or a negative change, but of course, I am changing. My birthday was a few days ago. I turned 25. And yeah, you know, with growth, change happens. So I am on a walk with God now, and I am trying to cut back on getting lit. I'll talk about more of my reasoning behind that. But real quick, I just want to let you guys know that no, I'm not changing my podcast name, at least not at the moment, because I found a new meaning behind it that allows me to still keep the name Highcast. So, of course, y'all already know what the meaning was before, you know, being high. But now, the new meaning is going to be Highcast, because I'm with the Most High. You know, God is above the clouds, the sky, the earth, the galaxy. Like, He's above all of us. So I feel like ever since starting my walk with God, I could tell that I could confidently say I'm with the Most High now. You know, I'm on that walk with God. I'm with the Most High. So this is the Highcast. That makes me so happy, because for a while I was like, damn, you know, like it's easy to change my Instagram username, because like I said, Life Being Des was just a girl whose whole life was to get lit. So I was like, let me change my name, you know, because I'm just Destiny Tirado. Like, that's who I really am. But it would be a little bit more different if I had to change my podcast name, you know, have to get a new logo. So I'm really, really grateful that that new meaning entered my mind and entered my heart. And I'm like, dang, that's what it is, at least to me. Y'all may be wondering, how was my 25th birthday? It was super chill, honestly. Shout out to my sister, because she ended up surprising me. I kind of guilt tripped my family. It was so funny because it was pouring rain on my birthday. And I drove almost 3 hours from Los Angeles, where I live, down to San Diego to spend time with my family. And they kept asking me like, oh, what do you want to do? You know, do you want to go out to eat? Da, da, da. But because it's raining, there's a lot of crazy fires going on in California. Like, the weather's just not on my side, right? So I was like, you know what? I don't really care what we do on my birthday. I just want to be with my loved ones. So I didn't really make too much plans, but as I was on my 3-hour drive down, I told my family jokingly, I was like, y'all got time? I was like, I'm still 2 hours away. I was like, y'all got time? You could buy some balloons real quick. Y'all could buy me some food. Like, but, and I know that sounds like stuck up, but it was like, we were not going to do anything for my birthday. So I'm so grateful that when I walked into my sister's apartment, there was some balloons for me. There was some ceviche. You know, if you know me, that's my favorite food ever. So shout out to my fam. They surprised me. I may have, you know, I wouldn't say guilt tripped them into doing something for me, but I definitely had to be vocal about what it was I wanted. And sometimes you have to do that in life, and there ain't nothing wrong with it. So yeah, it was super cute, super chill. It was just me, my mom, my sister, and my baby sister. But shoot, that is more than I could ever ask for. So 25th birthday was a success. The day before my birthday, I actually went out with my friends. I was planning on doing like a little tea party vibe. Y'all know I'm trying to be in my soft girl era. But honestly, I was kind of feeling depressed. I don't know. I feel like I've been dealing with some PTSD and just like voices in my head, like a lot, right? Like leading up to my birthday, I was dealing with a lot, like mentally, you know? And even though I wanted to plan like a little tea party with my friends, it just didn't feel right. Like I said, there's so much going on in the world with the fires and the weather. It just didn't feel right, even though that's like, of course, who doesn't want to have a big, cute, girly, soft girl, cute party, you know, tea party theme, but whatever, it didn't work out. But instead, we last minute, me, my friend Kimmy, and 2 other girls that are my friends. Honestly, I'm not even the closest to these girls, so it really chips me out that they were the ones who, because I honestly invited 7 people, and out of those 7 people, only 3 people made it. Actually, I invited 8 people, and then out of those 8 people, only 3 people made it. You know, things come up, so not everybody I invite who said they could make it was able to make it, but getting closer to God has taught me that you need to count your blessings and nothing else. Not the pounds on the scale, not your calories in your food, not the money in your bank account, but count your blessings, because that's what really, truly matters the most. So, you know, I wasn't worried about counting, oh, how many friends are filling up the seat at the table. I was just grateful that I had some friends, right? And some really good ones too. So, super casual 25th birthday, which is so unlike me. Like, that's crazy. I'm really grateful too. I did do a birthday photo shoot. I did that like a month before my birthday, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of went all out on that shoot. Shout out to, I'll put her ad right here. I don't want to say it wrong, but she actually created my flowers that were in my birthday photo shoot. It was amazing. I sent her some inspo pictures, and she created these flowers that were like 5 feet big. She had to build this whole like wooden frame that basically looked like the numbers 2 and 5, and then she filled them up with a bunch of flowers. Like, I don't know how many flowers she used, but probably more than 100. Like, and they were real flowers. So that's what I used to take some pictures. And then I had this stunning gown covered in crystals from a designer in New York. So I'm not gonna lie, I definitely went all out for my birthday photo shoot. And shout out to my photographer, Tati, Photos by Tati on Instagram. She's in San Diego, and she is just beyond talented. And yeah, so I'm so grateful. Like, to me, that was like my little gift to myself, was doing that photo shoot. It made me feel like a princess. So yeah, even though I would have loved to be in Miami or in a third world country, out of the country, like, because who doesn't love a good trip for their birthday? For a minute, I was thinking I was gonna go on a trip for my birthday, but it just didn't work out that way. But nonetheless, the birthday was an amazing day, and I'm so grateful that I have another year around the sun. But like I said, leading up to my birthday, I was dealing with a lot of mental things. I'm really blessed that life is good. But sometimes, even though life is good, your mental isn't always good, because, that devil is going to try to creep up on you. That's what they say is your thoughts is the devil's playground. I opened up to you guys about what I was going through when I was going through it a while back, in my previous apartment. I'm trying to think when this was. This was honestly a long time ago, over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. But I had gotten robbed. And then after that, I obviously moved out of that apartment somewhere else. But I was still in San Diego. Honestly, where I got robbed and then where I ended up moving was only down the street. I know, it sounds stupid. I literally moved down the street. So I'm confident that the person who robbed me was somebody who then proceeded to stalk me. So because I only lived down the street from that home, it was real easy for that stalker to continue stalking me, harass me. Honestly, maybe one day we could go into depth on what I went through. I literally was getting harassed at the gym, at my yoga studio. I felt like anywhere I went, that stalker was there. Whether I was with friends, whether I was alone, that stalker was stalking me. So it developed me to always look over my shoulder, watch my back. But finally, that's honestly what kind of motivated me to also move to LA. Once my lease ended at that apartment, I said, I gotta get out of here. I'm tired of this stalker following me around because I'm still in San Diego. And it sucks because that's where my family is. That's where everybody I know is. But luckily, San Diego and LA, they're not that far from each other. So and at the time when I was looking for an apartment out here in LA, I didn't even realize that I was kind of I was letting that person win, because they were driving me out. Because, I don't know. It's honestly makes me really sad to think about that time, because nobody deserves to feel unsafe, It's scary. This world is already such a scary place, so to know that there's somebody targeting you just makes doing daily tasks a million times harder. I was getting stalked at the grocery store, so I couldn't even feel like I started to, honestly, to be honest, I wasn't even planning on telling you guys this, but I developed this habit of ordering DoorDash and ordering Uber Eats or whatever it may be, because everywhere I went, I was getting stalked. And I didn't believe that should stop me from eating good. So I said, baby, that's getting delivered to my front door. And, girl, now I'm trying to pay off that credit card I maxed out on DoorDash because, so it just, life is hard. But, I'm grateful that I got away from that. But just because I moved out to LA, you never know, somebody's still stalking you up until you obviously find out. So being in LA, it has its pros and its cons. But what I'm trying to get at is everywhere I went, I started to text my family group chat, hey, I think I'm getting followed. I started to call my sister and my mom, hey, I think this person's following me. And there's not much they can do because they're now 3 hours away in San Diego and I'm out here in LA. So they would try to talk me through it, but like I said, they're literally, it's out of their hands. They're not here. They're not close enough. By the time they get here, anything could happen. So my sister started to tell me, call the police. But it's like a part of me didn't know if that person, whoever I thought, it could be a random person, right? And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, they're following me. I didn't know for sure if they were, so I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother calling the cops. So that's why I would call my family or tell my family, because just in case I don't text back again, then they know, like, okay, that's what happened. So yeah, then I started to hear some voices in my head convincing me that somebody was really out to get me. And I stopped leaving my house. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped hanging out with friends. I stopped going to events because I was just so scared. And then there was this day, kind of not that long ago, maybe like at the beginning of 2025, right after New Year's, where I ordered food to get picked up, for me to order food. I placed an order for me to go pick up some food from this vegan restaurant. And because it's LA, hardly anywhere has parking, unless if you like valet, but not everywhere has valet. This restaurant didn't. So I had to park kind of far, and it was late. I was having a rough week that week, just mentally. So, a lot of people go to alcohol or they go to drogas or whatever it may be to like cope with whatever they're feeling inside. So me, I'm like, I'm gonna order my favorite food, this vegan restaurant. So that was like, I was trying to do something positive to make me feel better, and it just sucked because it ended up with me screaming at the top of my lungs, running for my life to my car because I was convinced that this guy who I locked eyes with was out to get me. I sound crazy, I know, but if you were there and if you experienced what it felt so real. And to be honest, it could have been real, I don't know, but I wasn't willing to take that chance to find out. So I started making the dash, immediately calls my mom. Oh my gosh, I think this person's following me. I think this person's following me. And so she starts to make comments like, I think you're schizophrenic. And she's made that comment before. And my mom's a nurse. So what she says, I believe. So, and the first couple of times she told me that I was schizophrenic, my mom's very joking. She says a lot of jokes. We're very sarcastic with each other. That's just our family dynamic. We're not super freaking serious all the time. Like, we say jokes 24/7 with each other. So a part of me was like, she's just joking. But because I started to hear these voices in my head convincing me that even if I step outside of my apartment door, I didn't feel safe. Even walking around my apartment building, I didn't feel safe. I didn't even feel safe getting my mail. Because these voices were just telling me, I'm not safe. And so I was like, dang, maybe she's right. So I started to do some research. I was like, you know what? No. Actually, I didn't think she was right yet. I was like, let me see what she's talking about. So I started to do research, and oh my gosh, this was probably only 2 weeks ago. This was very recent, where I started to cry a lot because the more I read, I feel like this is for anything though, you feel a little sick, you're like, oh, I think something's wrong with my arm. You go to Google, Google's gonna tell you, yes, you're dying tomorrow. Don't go to Google. If you're really scared for your health, obviously seek professional help, get tests. Don't go to Google. But this was midnight at night, so I was like, I'm gonna go to Google because that's the most convenient thing in that moment to do. And it really felt like a lot of the things, and I believe there's 1 or 2 different types of schizophrenia. So I started to do research, and I forgot which one it was that I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I do suffer from this. But what I was reading seemed to match up with what I was feeling. I would be home at night. Dude, I'm not kidding you guys. I would sleep with the biggest knife I could find in my bed with me. Not because I wanted to hurt myself, because I was trying to protect myself. Because I would hear noises. And let's say, I live in an apartment, so like there's people passing by the hallways all day. And I would convince myself that I would hear footsteps. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my stalker. Or, some people who really want to hurt you, sometimes they'll hire people. I convinced myself that, okay, maybe it's not my, that's why I was scared of anybody. At first, when I was in San Diego, it was like, of course, like I knew what my stalker looked like. I knew what car they were driving. So I knew who and what to watch out for, what face, what car to watch out for, what license plate. But once I moved to LA, I don't know, I convinced myself that they could hire somebody, So I was scared of literally everybody. It didn't matter what you look like. It didn't matter what car you're driving. Like, I'm scared. I was just convinced that nobody got good intentions out here. So yeah, it was really hard to sleep, and it was just really scary I convinced myself in that moment that, oh my gosh, maybe I do have schizophrenia. Like my mom was telling me I do. And even though she says it like it's a joke, like when she tells me it, she doesn't seem super serious. She's like, haha, maybe you're schizophrenic. Like, So I'm just like, maybe this isn't a joke. So then I'm going about the rest of my week that week, and I started to hear, I'm actively reading my Bible. I'm actively watching church services online. I even went to a church in person, which is actually we should get into that, because girl, I feel like there was actors in the church. It was really scary because, I'm basically in a vulnerable position because I chose to move far away from everything I knew. Like, yeah, sure, I know a few people in LA, but not like my family, Nothing's like family. So that creates vulnerability, isolating yourself or going somewhere new. And because you're not me, because I was vulnerable, that made me an easy target. Because if somebody has bad intentions, somebody wants to brainwash someone, it's easy to do when they're feeling vulnerable. It's easy to do when they don't have their family around them, So, yeah, kind of scary because as I'm trying to not let these thoughts take over me, I'm trying to, fill my mind with positive thoughts, verses. And I started to listen to gospel music because that just made me feel a lot more at ease. I started to develop voices in my head telling me to end my life. And that was really hard because my birthday was probably like a week away. And like I said, I was actively making plans with my friends to have a little tea party celebration vibe for my birthday. And you can ask any one of these friends. They were texting me every day like, hey babe, did you make the reservation? Like what time, what location? And I was like not responding because it's not that I didn't want to live anymore, because I did, but these thoughts in my head were telling me I'm not worth living. So I was like, well, what's the point of going to tea? I was like, what's the point of anything? Like my mind started to go there, which is a really dark place. Because once you go down that way of thinking, sometimes it can be really hard to pull yourself out. Especially, like I said, I'm away from my family now. Before I lived down the street from my family, they could just pull up, knocking on my door if they really needed to. Now it's like, they don't even really know, like, much about where I live, what it looks like and stuff like that. Like, so how would they, So yeah, it was just really scary. And I'm just so glad, because I feel like I've had moments in the past too where I remember being a little girl, like in the moment I felt grown because I was like, I'm 15, 16. I remember going through a lot, family, mental breakups with boys, friends, literally probably like everything in the book. You know, not feeling love from family. I remember around that time, my mom had a significant other who, thank God, she's not with anymore. But I just remember feeling like that her ex-partner was like brainwashing her, and it just felt like my mom didn't love me, you know? And dude, I remember being suicidal and really, 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 really wanting to not be here anymore. But God entered my mind and he saved me. And I feel like God continues to save me so many different times in my life. And I feel like God also saved me when I was hearing those thoughts, and I was starting to then convince myself, like, wait, maybe I am schizophrenic. Nah, God told me just put all his faith in him and he'll do the work. So that's what I did. So if you want to know how I overcame that, and I mean, like I said, that was only 2 weeks ago. So those thoughts could always come back. But now I'm stronger. My faith is stronger. I'm stronger. You know, I feel stronger because I have a better relationship with God, that I'm just like, nah, like, I know I could recognize now that that's just the devil trying to get to me, because I know I sound crazy. Y'all are probably like, what is this talking about? I remember going on this podcast and it was just all getting lit. How many dabs, how many blinkers can you take? Like, yeah, I know. Even if my old self was hearing myself talk right now, I would be like, she's crazy. She's psycho. Like, she don't know what she's talking about. But I don't know. And a lot of people ask me, like, what led you to want to get closer with God? And I feel like God has always been a part of my life. Like, now that I'm, like, deeper in my faith, I could remember when seeds were planted. I didn't know what that meant. Like, what do you mean planting seeds? Like, I remember, like, I was in elementary school, and I remember there was this girl. I was best friends with a small group of girls, like 4 or 5 of us in 3rd grade. One of the girls' names is Savannah. And I remember once we got from 3rd grade to 4th to 5th, she stopped hanging out with us. And she became best friends with a different girl named Kristen. And Kristen's entire family is Christian. And her mother would come to the school, to the elementary school, and during lunch, during lunchtime, you eat your lunch and then you go to recess for like 30 minutes to an hour. So during that time, Kristen's mom came and would host a Bible study. So a lot of kids was like, I'm not gonna do that. I wanna go running on the playground. I wanna go play dodgeball. What am I gonna do? Like, this is my recess. You know, sitting down, reading the Bible, that feels like schoolwork. So a lot of kids were turned away, but me, I was interested. I saw my friend Savannah. I was like, who's this Christian girl? Like, I want to be cool with her. Like, she seems cool. Her mom seems really sweet. And so I stopped going to recess and I started to do Bible study. And then I remember going home and telling my family this, and they thought I was a little weird. They're like, what do you mean you're not being a kid playing? And so I went back on the playground. I was like, okay, then I'll be normal like everyone else. And then sadly, I did not stick with the Bible study and I went off. But there's little things like that where I'm just like, ooh, they planted a seed in me, because, I don't know. And then I remember working also another, like, something random, like, it's not random. Everything happens for a reason. And I was working at a dispensary in 2018. I was 18 years old. And none of the people wanted to work. I was the youngest person working there. Everybody else was probably around the age I'm at right now, or maybe even a little older. And I remember they were all friends with each other. Everybody who worked at this shop were all buddies. So they would often plan group trips. They would go to EDC. They would go to, I don't know what the name of the other raves are, but, they would party and group trips, and it seemed really fun. You know, I'm 18. I'm like, dang, like, I remember thinking, like, I can't wait till I'm 21, you know, so that way I could be doing stuff like that, you know, going on group trips and da-da-da-da. But none of them wanted to work. Like, they were all just trying to dilly-dally. Just how, like, when I was young in elementary school, like, I want to play on the playground, right? They wanted to just hang out. But because I was not happy with my living situation, I did not have my own apartment. I was motivated to grind. You know, everybody who would be like, who wants to cover my shift? Me, I will. There was a lot of days where I would work double shifts because they had 2 different shifts, morning and night. Each shift was 8 hours. I would work double shifts. The next day, sometimes I would work double shifts. And there was no seating allowed. So that meant I was on my feet standing for 16 hours straight. But I knew that I was going to go home with a good amount of money, and that was going to go towards saving up to be able to move out into my own apartment so that I could finally feel comfortable. So because I was working so much, I got to know who the customers were. You know, y'all watching, if you go to the dispensary, people probably, you know, recognize you because you probably go to the same shop. You know, like that becomes, you know, the one closest to you or the one that's most convenient or the one you like. So I started to see familiar faces because I was working literally almost 24/7. And I started to become a familiar face because I was just working so much. And they even knew, the customers would even tell me, like, dang, you're the only one who likes to work around here. And I'm just like, hey, I wouldn't say nothing, you know, Mom, that's my boss. I can't talk smack. That's my lead. That's my shift lead. Like, I can't, you know, I was always super respectful. And even in that moment, I never even saw it like that. I never even saw it like nobody around here wants to work. Nah, it wasn't until years later that I looked back and I'm like, wait a second, I was busting my butt. Meanwhile, everybody else was getting lit in the bathroom, shoot. But, yeah. It's crazy. But this woman, I remember she came and she was like, oh, actually, I wasn't even there. This was like the one day I didn't work. And I guess, well, no, she came. She was an older lady. And she was like, hey, at this time, I had my hair dyed half blue and half purple, split down the middle. And she was like, what are your favorite colors? And I was like, well, duh, blue and purple. Like, that's why my hair is this color. And she was just like, okay, cool. I'm going to bring you something next time I come in. And I was like, what? No way. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to make you something. And I was like, okay. And then I guess the next time she came, I wasn't working, which is crazy because I always worked. But whenever I did go in, the next time it was my time to go in to work, she had given what she made for me to one of my coworkers, and the coworker gave it to me. She was like, hey, this old lady gave me this. She wanted me to give it to you. Do you want it? I was like, of course I do. And it was a rosary. And I grew up going into the Catholic church, but the Catholic church that we grew up going to was all in Spanish, and me and my sister didn't know Spanish, you know? So I feel like my mom was low-key doing that because she wanted to look good in the eyes of her ex-partner at the time, because that's what him and his family did. They would go to this church. So, and of course, you know, going to church sounds like a good thing. Like, oh yeah, kids need church. So of course she, like, you know, had us go. But it really didn't do much to us because we couldn't even understand. But I still respect, you know, the religion and stuff like that. You know, a lot of my family members are Catholic. My grandpa would go to mass. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I was always surrounded by God, pretty much, you know, whether that be me getting gifted a handmade rosary that was literally my favorite colors, blue and purple. And I actually passed down that rosary once my baby sister was born. I had given it to her, and she wore it every day for the longest time. she would even get tangled in it because it was like obviously way too big for her. But it was dope. Like, I don't know. I just feel like God was always around me, always protecting me, and I just never even realized it. So yeah, but a lot of people, like I said, ask me, well, what pushed you to start your walk with God? And I'm not gonna get into that today just because I feel like that's a whole other episode. But my whole life is my testimony. My entire life, not just one event, my entire life. It was a buildup of a bunch of events, of me doing trial and error, trying to find love in boys, trying to find love in getting lit, trying to find love in going to the club and partying. Like, it was a buildup of trying so many other things, other worldly things, where I was finally like, yo, like, a lot of these things are temporary happiness. But yeah, my whole life is my testimony, and maybe one day when I'm ready, I will tell you guys. Another question I get a lot is, was being on the Whatever podcast what pushed me to start my walk with God? And if you guys don't know what that is, the Whatever podcast, I hate even giving them more attention, but they have a big platform, and majority of their audience is, I think the word is called misogynist men. I'm not too educated with all these big words, okay? Forgive me. But basically men who hate women, okay? And the hosts and the co-hosts of the show are also those types of men. And they had been messaging me, emailing me, they had their assistants email me and DM me. The actual person, the host, would message me asking me to go on their podcast for years, for over 2 years. I've received multiple emails within, they're very scattered out, like not back to back. Like, they would shoot their shot, send me an email, hey, come be on our podcast. And then maybe 6 months to a year later, I would receive another, email or DM. So they wanted me to be on their podcast for a while, and I never did because I knew exactly what I would be getting myself into, and that was into an argument with men who don't even like women. So I said, no thanks, you're not gonna make money off of degrading me. But unfortunately, when I was dealing with the voices in my head, I kind of stopped posting on social media, and social media is my job. So I stopped making money. And I wouldn't say I was desperate for money, like, trust. If I was desperate for money, girl, we know what website, that blue website I would create, I know that there's dancing clubs, you put on your heels, like, trust me, like, I'm very grateful that I wasn't at that point, but I was definitely starting to, like, I didn't fully consider those options, but I was just like, damn, like, rent's expensive, and I was just like, I need to figure out more ways to make money. But of course, I didn't want to resort to doing those things. So my friend, she actually told me, hey, I've been in contact with Whatever podcast. They're willing to pay you $200 to be on the podcast. And they'll also pay me, and they'll also pay another friend of ours. And she was like, yeah, I think it would be really cool if all three of us, girl power, we're all on it together. I'll have your back and I'll drive us. I don't think I'm allowed to say where their location is, but it was far away from LA, like over 2-hour drive. So she was like, yeah, like, I'll drive us, da-da-da. So to me, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, it's not OF, and it's not being a dancer, an exotic dancer. I'm on a podcast. I'm fully clothed. And I'll be making $200. My friend is gonna drive me so I don't have to spend money on transportation. And it's only a few hours of my time. So I said, okay. And I'll be with, my fellow girlfriends. So together we're stronger. So I was just like, okay, yes. So we go on it. And exactly what I knew what was going to happen is exactly what happened. They were making money off of degrading me on camera in front of a large audience of viewers. So I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. So I got up and I walked off. We were told I was there for at least 10 hours. At least 10 hours. And they ended up ending the episode at 4 a.m. So, and the whole time is arguments, the entire time. So imagine arguing with men for that long. Like, I couldn't do it. And I'm glad. I have no regrets on walking off. But unfortunately, I didn't get paid. I got paid only $100 instead of the $200. And that sucks because I was eating top ramen for a week straight. Like, literally, I was just like, man, like, this ain't even enough for my phone bill. Like, there was times where I had to cut off my phone bill and depend on Wi-Fi. Like, that's how serious that I was just like, fuck. Like, I was depending on getting that. I know it sounds dumb. It was only $200. And it's my fault that I got myself in that situation. But, it is what it is. And what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. So I believe that this will, like I said, my whole life is part of my testimony. So whatever hardships I go through is just going to be another piece of my testimony. It's not going to be something that is going to keep me down forever. So yeah, that's kind of annoying that happened, but you gotta be smart with your finances, girl. Be smart. Don't be like me. Don't get depressed and spend all your bread on DoorDash because one day you ain't gonna have money for not even top ramen. So always, always, always just, I don't know, never give up. I feel like the reason why I got to that point financially was because I started to give up on everything. Like, I didn't want to live I don't know. It was a lot. It was just, life is hard sometimes, but I'm so glad that I'm starting to feel like I already not even bounced back, but I have God on my side. Like, I have all faith in Him that whatever I'm meant to go through, I'll go through it. And I'm going to be okay because, like I said, I have God. But yeah, I will admit that doing the whatever podcast has no significance to my walk with God. It did not push me, nothing. To me, all I wanted was to get paid, girl. All I wanted was to not have to make an OF and not have to start doing something I didn't want to do to be able to maintain my bills and to be able to eat. And so that's why, that shit, that's nothing. Honestly, that podcast was nothing, but just how you go and you clock into work, to me, doing that podcast was me just trying to clock into work. But not at the expense of my dignity. So that's why I walked off, because to me, it wasn't worth it. At that point, I said, I'm good. I said, I'm good with the top ramen. I would rather be in my home comfortably eating my top ramen rather than be there, get paid the full amount, and be degraded. Also, just a little note I want to throw in there because after this, I'm done talking about them and I never want to talk about them again, is I met a lot of, you may not see it, even doing this, there's a lot that goes into it. We got lights outside, literally. So there's a lot that goes into the production and producing, a lot of content, whether it just be some Instagram content or something bigger like a podcast. There's a lot more people who are off camera, that are working to make everything go the way it does, so that way you guys see this the way you see it. So what I'm trying to say is that podcast that I was on has a lot of employees, assistants, and members of their team helping do things, like I said, behind the camera. From the second I walked into that room, I could feel the energy, and I could tell that not a single person who was working for that company or podcast or host, the person for Andrew, nobody is happy. Nobody had a smile on their face. Nobody was happy. This was before things went south and they started to be disrespectful to my face and just be rude and all that. This was before. Just when me and my two friends, when all the girls walked into that room, okay, we're here to film, we could just tell nobody here is happy. You could see the misery on their faces. And you could also see that these people are young, and they're most likely in college, and they're most likely in a similar position as me, where I'm just trying to get paid. Not everybody wants to work at McDonald's or Starbucks or whatever. So to them, doing that is better. But it's so sad how he's trying to run a business off of a really poor model, just negative energy. I get it. You have to have a certain persona on the internet to gain traction. I feel like, if anything, he's a little extra to, a lot of people, even YouTubers, we're extra with the title because clickbait, that's our income. That, depending on how much views we get, that's dependent on how well we're gonna eat, that's their job. So I understand that's his job. Gotta do what you gotta do for clicks, for views, for monetization purposes. But it's just so sad how every single staff member they had that I seen that day looked extremely empty inside, looked extremely miserable, unhappy. That's all I gotta say. I'm done talking about it. No, because I had a poor experience on the podcast, no, that's not the reason why I started my walk with God. No, I've always had a relationship with God. I always wanted to have a walk with God. And my whole life is a testimony, but that podcast is not part of it. I don't know how to segue into this, but I have here written on my card that I've been losing followers because of my walk with God. And it's true. I had 120K on Instagram, and as of right now, I have 98K. Still a good amount, so I'm grateful. But it's crazy on how much of a decline that I've had. I started to post on my Snapchat because that felt like my safe place to talk about my walk with God. I started to show, record videos of me singing gospel music, working out to gospel music, and it bothered so many people. I started to receive paragraphs of people just saying, I'm so sad. I've loved you for over 10 years and now you're changing. I followed you because you were my person to get lit with, and now that you're trying to quit, I can't follow you anymore. I can't support you. So I don't know how many people I had on Snapchat, but people let me know they're unadding me. So I'm pretty sure I lost people there. On my YouTube, I lost probably around 60,000 subscribers on my Life Being Des channel. On Twitter, I've lost 2,000 followers. Because I started to, it's called X now, but y'all know the old Twitter. I always tweet verses, Bible verses. The other day I put, God didn't forget about you. It's just not your time yet. So little things like that, where that's what I'm putting on Twitter, and people don't like to see it, so they're unfollowing me, and it's really tricky because that's my income, is social media. But when I was making a ton of money from social media, back when my YouTube was monetized and I was booming, I remember getting plastic surgery. I remember upgrading my car to my Mercedes. Like, I remember upgrading my tiny 1-bedroom apartment to a 2-bedroom loft with spiral staircase with an amazing, on the penthouse level. Like, even then, like, I remember having a whole roster of guys, more money than I ever even knew what to do with, just sitting in my savings account. Like, when my life was really good and I had my first Instagram, I had almost 400,000 followers, and then that account got taken down. So now I'm trying to build up this new account. Well, it's not new. I've had this account for like over a year now, like 2 years. But I still wasn't happy. I feel like in life it's good to have goals, but like, for example, you may think like, oh, I want to upgrade my apartment, I want to upgrade my car, or this or that. But I promise you, once you get those things, you're then gonna be like, okay, now what? Okay, now what's next? Like, once I got my car, all I could think about was, what's the next car I want to get? Once I got that apartment, all I could think about was, what's the next apartment I want? Like, nothing is ever enough. So yeah, losing followers, a part of me wants to be like, oh no, but then I'm like, when I had a bunch of followers, I still felt empty inside. When I had a whole roster of guys, I still felt empty inside. When I had all these nice things and money and I still felt empty inside. So if you want to unfollow me because I'm talking about, and I will continue to talk about my walk with God, then by all means remove yourself. There's so many content creators who live for this world. You could 100% free will go follow them instead. Unfollow me. It's okay. You will not be missed over here. And I mean that in the most respectful way. But I'm human, so part of me wants to have a little bit of stress on, oh my gosh, that's my job. So if I'm losing followers, that means I'm not gonna be really making that much money. And it's crazy because now that I have, from the past, like, ever since 2017, I have the least amount of money I've ever had right now. I have the least amount of friends. I have the least amount of followers. So you may think from the outside looking in, like, oh, your life must suck then. Oh, you're going downhill. Oh, you're not leveling up. Even my car, like, my car has the most problems it's ever had. In the past, anytime I had a problem, I get it fixed right away. Nowadays, life is a little expensive. So then problems, they don't stop. They stack up. And of course, nobody wants like car problems and stuff. But even with the car problems, even with whatever issues I got, it's crazy because I feel the most whole. I feel the most great inside. And I don't know, that just proves to me that, dang, if only I had God within me when I had all those things, all those materialistic things. Like, damn, maybe I would have, like, but it's all good. It's all good because I lost certain things and went through certain things, it pushed me to this point. So, like I said, everything happens for a reason. So it's all part of my testimony. And I can't wait to one day tell it to you guys in detail because there's a lot of things I've been through that I haven't shared yet anywhere on any of my platforms. And there's a lot of things that I didn't even realize I was going through, like when I don't even want to say it, but one of the deepest, darkest things that I've ever gone through to this day, it happened when I think I was only 16 or 17, maybe 17 actually. And what I went through when I was 17, it was a specific event that happened. I didn't even realize that, hey, this happened to me. Like, I didn't know. So every day I learn about myself where I'm just like, oh, shoot, because that happened, this happened. And now it's led me to do this. I don't know if I'm making sense, probably not, but I keep saying it over and over. Everything happens for a reason, the cause and the effect, you know. Whatever God puts me through is to truly make me stronger. It's to make me go back to him. Because when all your friends are fake and all the boys are fake because they just want to sleep with you, they don't actually love you. When you're having money problems, when you're having car problems, when you're like, you know, when you're stressed out, you're like, I got nothing. Who are you going to go to? I went to God, you know, so it's unfortunate that I had to go through certain things to push me to this point. But hey, I'm so glad I'm at this point. I'm so glad God continues to save me and do his thing. He did his Dougie. He did it. He's working within me now. And every day I count my blessings. Every day. I'm not you know, I suffered from depression for so many years. And even still, you know, sometimes I get like some thoughts, but life is just so much greater now. I feel so much more whole. I feel so rich because I have a good relationship with a smaller group of friends, but friends who are real friends, and a really good relationship with my family, and a really good relationship with God. Like, I don't know, I would not be on this earth if it wasn't for God, because he knows there's been so many times where I just didn't feel like I could continue doing this. Because let's be real, life is hard. And that's why it's important for me that I continue building my relationship with God. But also, just because I have a relationship with God does not mean I'm a saint, I'm an angel, I'm perfect, I've done a 180 and I'm a completely new person. I'm at the very beginning of my walk. I have so much more mountains to climb. And it's really hard because, and I've been getting really frustrated because I've been trying to share a little bit about my testimony or my walk with God on my platforms. And, you know, we've already talked about me losing followers, whatever, over that. It happens. It's going to happen. But it's really frustrating how people only know how to scroll and point the finger. And so a lot of people, when they see me continuing to be a human, they're like, but didn't you start your walk with God? Aren't you trying to get closer to God? Like, yeah, I'm human. I'm not an angel, you know? And it's clear that these people are, like, it's good to surround yourself with, like, for me, I'm trying to surround myself with more holy people so they can, you know, try to keep me, you know, on the right path. Not that that's their responsibility, but, you know, birds of the same feather flock together. You know, you are who you hang out with. So it's important for me to surround myself with people who are on a similar journey as me or the same journey, so that I have positive influence around me, so I don't lose sight of what I'm supposed to be doing. Because especially being in LA, you know, you see people going to the club, you see people doing bikini photo shoots and getting all the guys and living in mansions because they're just working with all the big brands, getting paid so much money and but money is not everything, fame is not everything, And everything materialistic, you can't take it with you. So, I don't know. That's something that has stuck with me once I've realized that. I'm like, damn. There's this song that I like to listen to, and it says, "This is not my home, I'm just passing by. This is not my home, I'm just passing by." Because we never know when, but all of us, one day, our lives are going to come to an end. And my belief is that you either go to heaven or hell. So I'm trying to go to heaven. So I will admit I am a God-fearing woman. I will admit Jesus saved me, and I am now committed to giving my life to Jesus. I'm not trying to club no more. Don't invite me to the club. I'm not trying to get lit no more. Don't invite me to get lit. I'm not trying to get drunk anymore. Don't have me take no shots. I'm not trying to buy unnecessary things like designer or just unnecessary things. Like, y'all know I move every year. When my lease ends, I move every year. So I'm constantly reminded that, damn, why did I buy all this stuff? Because a lot of things when I move, I end up getting rid of it. I end up donating. I end up giving it away. So it's like, why did I even buy it in the first place? So, yeah, that's life being that's 2025, baby. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. I'm trying to change, but I'm still actively changing. I feel like we're all, no matter how holy you are, you're still gonna change. You know, every day is a new day. And yeah, I'm trying to be the best version of myself, but also I'm trying to put all my faith into God and really believe in my heart that He has a plan for me. And my purpose, I see, you know, for a long time too, I always thought, like, what's my purpose? You know, like, obviously I don't have kids and I'm single, so it could be hard, you know, especially at the age I'm at. You know, I'm not going to college. I've been considering going back to school though, but at the moment I'm not in school. So a lot of the times I'm like, what's my purpose? You know, I don't even have like a 9-to-5 job where I got to clock in every day. So sometimes it's like, what's my purpose? Like, you know, like, I didn't know for a long time, for a long time. I felt so lost because of that question right there. What is my purpose? But if you were to ask me now, my purpose is to follow God. My purpose is to be the woman that God wants me to be, and to continue planting seeds, to continue to just speak with my faith. I don't know. I'm trying to get sentimental, but at the end of the day, it's really not that complicated. My purpose is just to live for God, period. So, yeah. Thank you for listening, you guys. And I'm so excited for future episodes. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose followers on this podcast too. And I completely understand. I know a lot of people would get lit watching my episodes. So they're like, girl, this is not a vibe to get lit to and listen to all this. So 100% respect your guys' decision. All I ask is that you respect my decisions too. I respect your beliefs. Please respect my beliefs. Please don't make me have to turn off the comments on this podcast. I would love to see what you guys have to say, but also please give me a little bit of grace. I'm gonna say it again. I'm not an angel. I'm not perfect. I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna commit sin. Like, that's just human. I'm human, just like you. So, you know, like, y'all hold me to a certain standard because I have a platform and whatnot, but honestly, I'm still human, and I'm trying just like everybody else. So please don't be harsh on me in the comments. All I ask is you respect my beliefs, and I will respect yours. And that's all I have to say in this episode. If y'all love Jesus, give this podcast a thumbs up. And God loves you. So Jesus loves you. I love you. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Double deuce.